Hello everyone, it's Kari from sunshineinmypocket.com. Today I'm going to be using a couple of these beautiful stencils from Maker Forte, pine branches and this pine cone one. One thing I love about these stencils is they do have these holes at the top so that you can put them in a binder and keep them all organized. They also have the name of the stencil up there etched into the stencil material, so you always know which stencil you're using. So I normally keep mine in a binder. I love this system. It's easy to kind of flip through your stencils, and I organize them according to holiday or occasion. I'm going to start by inking on the pine cone pretty lightly. I'm using a flat white ink from Maker Forte. This is their Color Hive ink, which I also love. And you can see I just inked on that pine cone really lightly because we're going to foil this project, and that's just going to show me where the pine cone is for foiling. Now I'm going to ink on the leaves. I used Everglades at first for this first one, and now I'm going in with some British Racing Green to add some additional pine branches using that other stencil. So I'm just kind of placing it where I think, using different parts of the stencil. There are quite a few to choose from, and that's one thing I loved because I could mix and match, just kind of figure out where it looked best. I'm really not worried about inking over that pine cone because after all, we are going to foil that. So this is not going to show up. Instead, it's going to look like these branches are behind the pine cone, which is kind of what I wanted. So there we go. There's our panel so far. And this looks great, but it's going to look even better when we got the foiling done. So I'm going to clean this stencil off first, and then I've got my transfer gel and some foil there. This is the amber watercolor foil, and I'll show you what that looks like. It's beautiful on this pine cone. It's got some really neat coloration variations. So I'm going to take that pine cone stencil, put it back over the top, and mask off the branch. I don't want to get any of this onto the branch itself. I just want to foil that pine cone. So I'm adding a little bit of that and then taking my stencil pal and smoothing it out just a little bit. Then I'm going to add just a little more texture here and there, add some more gel where I missed some spots, and that's going to be perfect right there. Now I'm not looking to get this perfectly smooth because pine cones have a lot of texture. So when there's a little texture in that transfer gel, that's going to also show up in the foil. So now I've set that aside to dry for a few days actually, and I came back to this a couple days later. And I've got some dark green foil for my sentiment, and here's the amber watercolor foil. Look at that. Wait till you see this foiled up. I also have some paper up there that I've foiled. This is Maker Forte's foilable paper pack. So it started out black and white, and I foiled it with some red foil. And here I'm just trying to get some of the darker colors of those browns over the pine cone. And I'm just going to cut this with my foil cutter. It's a rotary cutter. Don't forget to press down. That's what makes the cuts nice and smooth. Before I bring out my mini ink machine, I want to protect my surface with some heat. They're craft mats, but they're the heat resistant ones. And I found that protects my surface when I'm doing the foiling. I just ran this through with a piece of extra cardstock, and I put that into my parchment paper. And I just put that through the ink a couple of times. I like to kind of release the foil a little bit with my bone folder, and look at this. So pretty in the light. We've got a little bit of texture on there, some variations in color. If you get some foil in spots you don't want it, you can take your craft knife and just wipe that away, or just kind of whisk it away there. And that's all there is to it. So there's our sentiment. I'm going to trim one of the edges so it doesn't have that banner fishtail edge. I'll leave it on one edge though, and then I'm going to just trim a bit of that red and white striped paper. This is going to look great as a little bit of a backdrop for this. So I'll glue that down, line that right up, and then I'll cut it down to size. This is a pretty simple card. It didn't take me very long. The longest part was probably the part where the gel had to dry. And so you do have to plan ahead just a little bit because that needs to dry fully before you do your foiling. Now I'm just going to trim down my panel and add it to some beautiful Redwoods cardstock. This is a deep red color. It has some brown undertones, which I thought would match so well with the browns in the pine cone. So that's why I chose this paper today. And then I'll go ahead and add the sentiment to that as well, and then add the whole entire thing to a card base. That's just going to look great just like that. So we'll pop the sentiment up with some foam tape. I'll give a little bit of dimension and add that right to the top. I'm using my tweezers to get my fingers out of the way so I can place that sentiment right where it looks great. I think right about there is going to be good. Now I didn't get a perfect result on a few spots, so guess what I'm going to do? Add some gems. That's when you know where to add your gems. Any part that's not quite perfect, no one will ever know. So these beautiful green gems are the crown jewels. And there's our card for today. Look at all that shine and sparkle from the foil and those gems. We've got the beautiful background with the stencil. A super easy card. I hope you enjoyed it today. I will link all the products below if you want to go check them out. I hope you have a very happy holiday season. I just had to add a little foiling to my holiday cards this time around. I think foil is perfect for the holidays. And I'll see you next time with some more card making inspiration. Thanks so much for stopping by. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well so you don't miss a thing. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.